Thank you very much. Konichiwa, good evening, everyone. My name is Max. I'm founder and CEO of Konichiwa. We have a company based in Berlin, started back in 2014, using proximity solutions to optimize the overall passenger experience. So I think it's clear that the passenger smartphone needs to be an integral part of the entire airline experience. But if you look at what's going on right now, you come to an airport, you have to find your way, you browse through duty-free, it's not really a personalized experience at all. You have to navigate and find your way. If you actually arrive at the airport lounge and you have the privilege of having access, you go there, you drop your suitcase, you get out your smartphone, you scan your smartphone. Loyalty is not seen at that point. You then find your way to the gate. Again, you scan your boarding pass, operational hassle. You're inside of the aircraft. There's no real connection between your mobile solution, your airline application, and the IFE system. It's not personalized at all. If you do want to pay, so let's think of that scenario, you do want to pay that tomato juice, then you have to get your wallet, which is in the overhead compartment or in your bag, so you'd rather not buy it. Then afterwards, something went wrong and you want to complain or you actually want to give a positive feedback, it's really difficult and almost impossible. So we believe that the physical world does have an advantage nowadays. You just have to leverage it in the right way. And the complexity here is creating contextual relevance. So actually making sure that the smartphones, the airline smartphones, do have a contextual relevance at any point in that journey. So what we've developed is a set of software development kits, so tiny bits of code, which can be integrated into airline applications in order to allow real-time recognition, so actually recognizing passengers the moment they come to a lounge or an aircraft. That's, by the way, what we're called Konichiwa. Possibility to say hello to passengers. Hyperlocal marketing, so contextually relevant marketing. Being able to take proximity payments, so authenticating payments just merely by knowing that a passenger's phone is close to a crew tablet, for example. Looking at access to all kinds of areas. Virtual assistants, so actually making sure that the smartphone has 100% knowledge of where that passenger is and customizing the experience accordingly. And lastly, navigating you in the most seamless and easiest way from A to B. So let's look at how we actually envision that journey and what we've been developing for customers like Zodiac Aerospace, where we started off by creating a contextual relevance at the airport. We know where that passenger is. We pick him up right there. We make sure that he receives personalized offers, shopping offers, duty-free, so he knows exactly what he wants, what does make sense for him, and target that accordingly. We can navigate him the fastest way from A to B, saving him time. If he actually does go to the lounge, there is true loyalty there because that passenger is recognized in real time. So he steps up, you can say, hey Max, great to have you, access here without having to drop down my bags. Same goes for boarding, a very speedy and easy access for boarding. Whilst you're at the plane, we know that your smartphone is connected to the IFE and we can connect it in a very seamless manner using Bluetooth beacons. It's seamless, it's easy. And lastly, payments can be taken in an easy, seamless way, and also feedback can be provided because we know you've left the aircraft. We do this for a bunch of other verticals as well. This is our entire setup, how it's working, and thank you very much.
Excellent, very, very good. Thank you very much. So, our dragons, who wants to go first with a question? We've got 5 minutes worth of questions.
Just very quickly, similar solutions already exist or in the process of being launched. Why are you different than everybody else? And if we're to go with your platform and your solution, why you?
Back in 2014, we were one of the first companies working with Bluetooth beacons. We have over 25 million devices which are Bluetooth enabled and working on a daily basis. So we have a lot of experience in making Bluetooth work. We've been working with a bunch of customers who had super bad experiences using beacons because it wasn't working at all. It's complex. It's really, really complex. We're 80 people just working on purely that day in, day out. So we believe that we can offer the most seamless experience. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's an SDK, it's white labeled, you can integrate it into your existing solution, integrates into the IFE, integrates into your backend, into your CRM. So we believe that we can offer a very compelling, well-rounded solution.
How much invest does it take for us to integrate your codes?
Yeah, so I think the most important part is always how much time does it require and how much development time does it cost you, because that's your biggest cost block usually. an SDK. It's a sandbox SDK, so it can be implemented within, we usually, and we've seen with partners something between 6 to 8 weeks. Of course, it depends, how much development resource you put on that. We have a software as a service fee, which is very low, transparent. It's a pretty simple pricing. There's no complexity behind that. We don't tap into your revenues, so it's pretty straightforward in that regards.
Any other questions, judges? No, they're all nodding. Okay, so well done. Let's have a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 3D seat map. The floor is yours, sir. Let's give him a round of applause. Come on. And 3 minutes on the clock, please. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, my name is Joaquín Albiz. I'm the growth manager of a Spanish technology company called Renaissance. And we have created the most amazing seat map experience where the users can really feel like inside the plane before actually buying the ticket. Okay, we faced a problem that we have suffered ourselves, which is where your seat is in the plane, but you don't know how it is. Okay, so it has two consequences. The main one, the first one, is that you can get frustrated passengers when they are going to pay more, in the cases they are going to pay more for a special seat, like emergency exit seats, that usually cost more. And then sometimes they find something like this. This is an emergency exit place, a seat, but the emergency exit door has that part where your legs are hitting, and you have paid more for that seat. So that can make the passenger very disappointed. And the second one is that it's hard to sell those special seats when you don't really know the difference between one seat and another, and you can't really see those differences. That's very important. Until now, introducing 3D seat map VR, which is our solution. Our solution lets the passenger really experience the seat, not just knowing where it is, okay? When the passenger clicks on a seat in the traditional seat map, we open up a window with a 3D immersive view of the place. It's all web-based, so you don't need to download any kind of external application. It's very important. It's computer-generated, not photographic, so any kind of changes can be very easily implemented. Customized for every airline, and it allows different quality levels and desktop mode and also virtual reality mode. The business here, why is it interesting? For us, we split it into two parts. The first part is the startup and commissioning milestone, and then we have a monthly subscription fee with upgrades, updates, and support. And for the airlines, for a number of reasons, it has been increasing the request for upgrades and for special seats, and also the passenger satisfaction ratios, decreasing the passenger complaints, and also allows you to use the screens to display any kind of information, sponsor, advertising, anything, any kind of message that you want to display, you can use it. It's up to you. The next step, well, we are already working on a social platform to let everybody know the interior of the airplanes with special visibility and special features for those affiliated airlines to this product. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, round of applause. Dragons, over to you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. How does this work for different distribution channels?
Yeah, we are ready to be integrated with CDN. So, when this new IATA platform they are developing, we can integrate with it just by getting the messages that the airline and the third part are interchanging. We can get to know which aircraft are you going to use and display the layout generated for that specific case. Okay, but the main channel here will be the airline website. That's the main one, then the first one, and then the third parties.
As long as you know the aircraft type, the airline knows the aircraft type.
Exactly. In the case that in the last minute they don't know the aircraft or any kind of changes could happen, we recommend, we advise to show some kind of disclaimer just to let the passenger know that maybe the reality will differ a little bit in some specific cases, but we think it's much better showing it to the most part of the user, the most part of the times, than losing it.
You know, I don't fully understand the economic case of this. You know, have you done some economic modeling and gone to ask the passengers, is this scalable from an economic perspective, I mean?
Yeah, if you mean from the point of view of compatibility and loading time and the weight of the assets?
No, just the business case. I mean, what's the business case of this idea?
The business case for us or for the airline, you mean?
I mean, from an airline perspective, from your
for the airline
perspective.
perspective, it really helps them to sell more. I mean, you will get more selling of special seats because now the passenger can really see the difference. If I'm going to go for an emergency exit seat that the airline can charge with a high price, now I really can feel the difference. I can see if the leg room is bigger in that seat, or if I am closer to the corridor, to the windows. I really know it.
And your business case?
Our business case is to go with the airline during all the process and getting a base of airlines that are affiliated to this, and that we can accompany during the process with support, upgrades, and updates. We add some changes in this subscription fee, like 10 minor changes every year, or one new layout regeneration every year. So it's like a package that you can subscribe for, and it makes it interesting for them.
Very quickly, you mentioned in terms of if there's an aircraft change, IROPS and so on, it takes time to update it, and there's also the disclaimers and so on. But don't you think that this will disappoint customers with last-minute changes? Interiors change very quickly as well. And in terms of the 3D interiors, we know already a lot of airlines are using Google, so you can see those interiors. So how do you adapt to that, and what are the risks?
Yeah. It depends on the airline, actually, because some airlines, they really have the control to the detail of the aircraft. 1 minute before it's going to depart, they really know which aircraft is going to be in that flight. Some of the airlines they don't have this control to the limit. In those cases, we can go with simplified models, just to let the passenger have a rough idea of what they're going to find in the airplane, even if it's not that realistic. In those cases where the airline really knows how it is, we can go to the full detail all the way through.
Don't you think that third-party purchase points are more relevant because you can actually compare different airlines? Because if it's just about my own airline, I would be probably doing that myself.
Yeah, well, third parties, they really can take advantage of this too, because it will help them to sell those special seats and request for upgrades too, because you can show the economic class, or you can show the business class and first class. And yeah, I mean, they can take advantage of this, as the airline will take advantage of this. The main focus will be the websites of the airline, and the next will come later.
Do you focus only on the seat as such, or do you also show additional benefits that go with it? I mean, look at our premium economy, you get a second piece of luggage, you get different catering and so on. So do you plan to integrate more?
Yeah, this scenario is focused absolutely in the seat experience, okay? If the airline needs to show any other information, we can add information over it, like a fake augmented reality, like the dimension, the placement of the plugs in the seat. But we always advise to keep the interface as simple and as clear as possible for a better user experience, which is critical here. That's why it's so fast, because we don't load external application to keep it simple and fast.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause. Nice to see our judges are starting to warm up a little bit now, so they'll be breathing fire properly by the time we get to VChain. So, right, so next up is Trip Creator. Let's welcome Trip Creator, please.
Good afternoon, almost evening. My name is Jón Árni Bragason. I'm from Trip Creator. We are a software development company based in Iceland. I was thinking of doing the presentation in Icelandic, but I guess that would not work. So, what do? We create a trip planning solution for airlines, travel agencies. We white label it, and it's a software as a service. So Doesn't really involve IT at the airlines. It's all done basically for the airline. The goal is to increase the ancillary revenues for the airlines, increase customer engagement, increase and better the digital experience for the customer. Basically allow the airlines to do a one-stop shop, not just sell seats, but basically everything that the customer needs. The airlines are looking to sell more than just the seats and the luggage and the flight. They want to get more revenue from accommodation, transportation, tours and activities. Worth noting that tours and activities, according to Focusrite, is about $129 billion worth of business per year, whereas the rental car business is about $63 billion. So there's a lot of money to be tapped on there. So what we do is we are trying to fill the gaps that we see in here. The customers basically on the website looking for flights, books the flights, comes in, checks in, flies with the airline, but is out of touch with the airline outside this. We want to basically fill this void with the trip planning solution. We basically aggregate content. Most of airlines are already hooked up with Booking.com or Hotels.com, rental cars. They have special tabs, and basically they are diverting their customers to other sites. Even the Booking.com sites that they have up and running are basically just branded with the airline, but they're showing Booking.com inventory and sites. So we want to help the airlines do this on their sites, not having the customer leave the airline site. Keep them there, help them get things done in one place. But you can select the global players that you want to sell inventory from. If you have an API, you have your own inventory, we can integrate with that. So in addition to doing this and helping the customers and basically retain the customers and creating customer loyalty, you get a lot of information about the customer. You know what the customer is doing. They order a 10-day trip to France. You know if they use the tool. You know what they're doing during that time, whether they're going to the Louvre or somewhere else, and you get a view of who your customers are. People that don't want to plan aren't going to use the tool, but they're going to go somewhere else for doing stuff if they want. Am I done?
That's your 3 minutes, buddy, I'm afraid. Sorry. So round of applause, first of all. Over to our dragons, please. Who's first?
Thank you very much for your presentation. Is this a product in the market already or not?
Yes, it is. We've been developing it for about 3.5 years.
Okay.
We went to market with a B2B business in January. Icelandair has this on their website. We have one travel agency in Iceland, so we're basically covering our home market and trying to get into Europe and the US and the Asian market.
Okay. You have competitors in this area. So what's the differentiating part of your product? What's your marketing proposition, for example, for the airlines?
We think we have about 4 to 7 competitors that focus on similar kind of areas. Some of them are only mobile. I think most of them are lacking the planning functionality, which probably didn't show through. We are an aggregator of content. We help you get more commission from selling these things to your guests. But the added value in our solution is the planning functionality that allows the user to get a day-by-day view of their activities, to get a calendar view, and they can drag and drop in the calendar. We make sure that you don't, for example, plan 2 tours at the same time. We make sure that there's plenty of time between the tours if you have to travel through the city. We have driving directions. We have intelligence that basically advises you not to drive if you're on a tour, drive 800 kilometers one day and 200 the next. So we try to give some planning functionality, and I think that's where our strongest point is. Everybody else can aggregate content and help you get more commission, but the added value is the planning.
But your aggregations happens in the back, right?
I'm sorry?
Your aggregation happens in the back, so you don't have a front end as such. So if
Well,
the trip planning tool is really the USP, why don't you sell that as an asset with your own platform?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
as you use other platforms, other purchase points, and you provide a service in the background of aggregating different sources of content, right?
Yes, I mean.
But you don't have your own platform.
We don't have our own content. Our platform is the planning platform.
You don't have your own app or website?
No, well, we ran a B2C site for 18 months, and basically we did that to get feedback on our planner, how it works and what's good. We started out actually giving the user a full suggested plan, but it turned out they didn't want that. They want the ownership of the plan. They want to start with an empty plan and put stuff in it rather than getting a full suggestion. You still can, though, get a suggestion from the engine for a day at a time. You can actually hit the button and say, suggest, and we will show you a plan for the day, suggested plan, based on your filters. You may be cheap or expensive, and you can basically select the activities that you're interested in, and we'll suggest something. So how do we make money? I'm sure that's going to...
No, I didn't have that question.
Okay.
Thank you. My question is, if you look at the world today, most of it is disintermediating. I don't know how to pronounce it, but disaggregating, right?
Yeah.
You are aggregating.
Yes.
Do you see a long-term, viability issue with your idea itself?
Well, I think there's a lot of content out there that needs to be put forth and in front of the customer, and you can either have the customer go to all these different sites to get the content, or you can aggregate it and show them in one place. The difficulty is to filter it to the wishes of the customer, because it's information overflow, if you will. What I see in the future is, in the future, you will be sitting in your home and you'll be talking and saying, hey, Siri or Alexa, I want to go 10 days to Paris, show me a map and show me what I can do. Until then, you need to use a mouse and basically some visuals. But even if you have an assistant, a digital assistant, they will actually speak to systems like these in the background. The assistant is basically just a translator between your voice and some intelligent system in the background. So the user interface is a mouse and a screen. Later on, it'll be voice, but...
How many years do you think? Aggregation business models, how many years?
I'm sorry?
How many years your business will be?
I think it's going to take about 8 or 10 years for the voice assistant to become intelligent enough to understand everything that you ask for, the different accents, the different way you ask questions, et cetera, et cetera. But in the meantime, you have to think about developing the intelligent background application that actually gives answers to the assistant that then shows it to you.
Very quickly, please. Very quickly.
Is it a turnkey solution, or do you, is the airline the user screen? Do you also...
We actually run it on the airline's website, so the user only sees the airline's domain.
So it's a turnkey solution.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Trip
you.
Creator, round of applause. Right, so our penultimate company is Sky Guru. Let's have a round of applause for Sky Guru.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're not too tired, because I'm going to tell you something really cool. So, Sky Guru, this is your airplane. Speaking in the upcoming 3 minutes, we're going to discuss how airplane can speak and who the hell needs speaking planes. Okay, so it all started from the problem. The problem that we're talking about is that 30%, according to recent ICAO research, 30% of passengers are scared of flying. 30 to 40, to be honest. So what they need in order to fly better, calmer, they need a lot of knowledge about the aviation that they don't, as aviation industry never took care on it. They need a lot of prediction and reassurance and human support. How do I know all that? Because I'm 42 years old, half of my life I'm a pilot, and quarter of my life I'm treating people who suffer from fear of flying. I did it 8,000 times, so I know exactly what do they need. Their golden dream is, what if a pilot was sitting next to me and explaining everything and every moment, every sound, every movement, every feeling, so it will be much, much easier for me to handle that stuff. So we tried to put pilot next to every anxious passenger. We didn't manage, but what we managed to do to teach iPhone to act as such a pilot, or any mobile device. So all this stuff works that way. For example, you're departing and there is a thrust reduction moment, you know, then there's less noise and you got a feeling of falling down. So the iPhone detects this stuff and then it sends message. You know, this is the thrust reduction. We did it because that and that and that. And then when you're not falling down, you're just continuing to climb with smaller vertical speed. So everything is explained. For example, if you fly on A320, so you will hear something like, the message will be something, you will soon hear something like, wow, 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 wow. This is because that and that. And every single process is explained. Technology, I can explain you later on how it works. So a little bit about the business, B2C, we have about 60,000 downloads until now, 60,000, and this is paid app, so people pay for that, they need it and they love it. And we develop a great B2B activities now. We are doing mutual projects with one of the world's biggest airplane manufacturers, with one of the world's biggest search engines, with one of the world's biggest IFE providers. So people need it and business need it, because until today, aviation didn't take care on telling people how it works, what are all those noises and processes in flight. So it provides a better flying experience, and now it goes from fearful flyers, only it goes to all the passengers, because we know to provide a lot of information that nobody could provide until today. For example, we can say if you approach Nice, today we are probably going to approach 04 runway, so take a right side seat because it's beautiful views on approach. So we have another slide if you want to. Question and answers, I can tell more.
I'm afraid your time is up. So very interesting. I wish I was a dragon for a moment, but I will ask the dragons to ask some questions.
Alex, do you need to have connectivity in order to use the app in flight?
Once again?
Do you need to have connectivity to use
no,
the app?
This is the wonderful. The app is autonomic. It uses, before flight, you need connectivity to the internet because it downloads all the aviation information. Then it uses AI to prepare like ideal flight route. And then on board, it's disconnected from anything. And it uses the iPhone sensors to confirm or disconfirm different flight stages.
Yeah, and you mentioned you get these messages, okay, you know, it's a thrust reduction or whatever it is or approach. Yeah. So what happens when there's a bird strike, engine out? Do you get a message your engine shut down?
The main idea is that in that case, the captain most probably will talk to you and explain, we've had a bird strike and we're going back. You don't need SkyGuru for that. But the problem is, and the serious problem is, that then everything is okay for you, for us as aviators. For NXS passengers, of barking dog for 320, it's something is probably wrong, and they will suffer all the flight because something was wrong on departure, you know. And this is captain is not going to talk about.
And do you think people will really, if they're really fearing flying, right? They're getting comforted by this app, but do you think they'll really fly more?
Yeah, the statistic says that people who are assisted in their fight against fear of flying will fly 3.5 more often than an average passenger. He and his family members.
And I see somehow there's a anachronism. I think airlines and airplane constructors are thinking about reducing the number of pilots that we have there. So they have you're selling this human touch thing somehow, but then I would trust technology to help me out. I've got a friend, if you take the metro in Paris, number 14, there's no driver, and there's no way I would get her into that train. Yeah. But I don't think it would help if there would be an app, you know, another tech device.
It helps a lot. You can read the just reviews on App Store, and you can see that people write there that their flying experience has totally changed, and it changed the way of they fly. And actually, they couldn't fly without that, and they can't fly anymore without that. It is smart stuff, because from one point of view, it has a lot of knowledge and information. But for any anxious passenger, what is important is to have predictions and then confirmations. You know, it predicts turbulences, for example, up to single minute. Sometimes up to single minute, sometimes up to few minutes. But we can predict turbulences. For example, it says, you know, expect turbulence 20 minutes from now. This is because we are overflying Gulf Stream. And Gulf Stream is warm, and the Greenland is cold, so because of difference in the temperatures, it's going to be turbulent, it's okay. For them, knowing that something is predicted, it's totally different from something that is not predicted. I had countless opportunities to see it by my eyes, because I fly with anxious flyers all the time. I did thousands of flights with them. So, for example, going around is traumatic experience for an anxious flyer. But if it's predicted, and SkyGuru predicts it, it calculates the odds for going around. It analyzes traffic situation, it analyzes the weather situation, and then it says, you know what, today the cloud base is 200 feet. And for this runway, we need 200 feet to see the runway. So it can be 50-50. If we see the runway, we land. If we don't, we go around. And then they get such a message, and they're going around, they're calm. Another stuff that we need to get confirmations of that noise was okay. That movement was okay. So if I'm making U-turn, for example, because our departure is to the north and the direction is south, so it's predicted first, okay? We say, okay, so expect left U-turn immediately after takeoff, okay? And then it is happening, another message arrives. You see, this is a turn. So they got prediction and confirmation. It calms them down. And there is a lot of human touch in this as well.
This is an app. You said you pay for it, right?
Yeah,
download
for now,
it.
yeah. But there is also API model.
What's in it for the airlines?
For airlines, two options, three options actually. First is SDK. You can implement our app inside your app, add fear of flying button, so NXS passengers just hit the button and they have all the support during the flight. The second is white label app, and the third is API. API is quite different because API works before flight. Okay?
There will be a revenue sharing then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a revenue share model.
When is the latest time to get the info? Because you get all the info from the aircraft, right?
Yeah.
What's the latest,
You can get the latest information on
Because they should
takeoff
be
acceleration run, you know.
Yeah, but they should be connected until they...
Yeah, actually, if you are connected before taxing, you are fine.
Okay.
Because you will get the latest TAF, latest METAR, latest turbulent forecast, you know, if it changes. So but even if you're connected 2 hours prior to flight or 3 hours prior to flight, it's totally fine. 24 hours prior to departure, we can send a lot of information to customers already.
The airline should be able to send.
Yes.
Okay, we're out of time, so thank you for 60,000 downloads so far.
Yes.
It's very impressive, so intriguing product. Round of applause. Okay, and last but not least, let's welcome VChain. VChain, hello.
Hi guys, thank you very much. My name is Ira. I'm really pleased to be here. And did you know that 50% of information that passengers fill in when they either buy a ticket online or put it in their online booking is incorrect? By the time we come to the airport, there's an awful lot of friction and process to correct that because airlines need correct APIs. No one wants that. So what we do, instead of having this red stress line going to the right, by the time the plane departs and you need to keep correcting things up until the gate, we flip this, and with VChain, the airline can correct a lot of stuff pre-airport, and I'm happy to take questions and explain how, but the stress line gets reduced. So with British Airways, who we've worked with for 6 months now, we decided to do a lot of tests, and 91% is the data we can already certify before the passengers come to the airport. The other 9% are either new, or we need to check them again. So this is mathematically impossible to hack, very, very powerful software, and boy, have we patented this. We use blockchain on the back end to prevent us having an entire database of identities, and we do not touch open data. Blockchain also allows us to make sure it's decentralized. There's no one point of attack. It's decentralized completely. The fact that we don't touch open data allows us to comply with GDPR regulations as well, and this is very valuable to airlines and businesses around the world too. Now, this allows us to create a better passenger experience, get them ready to fly before they get to the airport, and much less times are your staff at the airline asking questions, please, madam, can I see your passport, and can I see your boarding pass again and again? So with VChain, we not only maintain security, but we enhance it, because you can focus on the 9% of passengers who might have bought a ticket the day before with cash, instead of the 91% that you probably have seen 20 times over with the same data set, the same identity. Now, the really exciting thing is that this works across airlines. With IAG, who invested in us, we can share data in between airlines and allow connecting flights to have a similar asserted data set instead of having to go through the same process at connections or wherever you fly in the world, depending on the destination. The US in particular is a nightmare. Regulatory things, we help with that. So the really exciting thing here is the future. Imagine for a second that you already have pre-verified data about a passenger and their identity. Now, importantly, VChain does this each time you fly, not as a one-off. So you have a set of high-integrity verifications. What else can we do with this? Well, one of the use cases, if you imagine a little passport, a digital travel wallet, sitting inside the native app of each of the airlines, and we've totally stolen this from your site. Now, with these already, the passenger has pre-verified data as a B2B2C offering, and they can use this at any point here, either when they're traveling or whenever they're accessing services in the airport or on the plane. Let me show you this. All of the airlines have co-branded cards. And of course here, and we've got Kevin's name there, you can imagine, instead of filling out 3-4 pages of forms, with one click using all of that validated data, you can seamlessly apply and use the card on board straight away.
Unfortunately, you're out of time. But you did
And
get
this
my
is
name
the last
up on the
slide.
card here. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, our dragon's ready to breathe fire one last time.
I'm the last one, so you need to really have a go at this.
Please.
So this is blockchain-based identity solution?
Nice to see you, Neat, and I know we've spoken on the phone loads of times before. We use blockchain as a tool. We use blockchain to decentralize our data set, which is not open and jumbled up and makes no sense anyway. But blockchain is just an enabler for the identity. The identity itself is owned by the passenger, and the data is owned by the airline. So you never give us any passenger data, and we never put any data onto a blockchain. We use it to keep ourselves accountable. We use 3 public blockchains and a sidechain. I'm going a bit off-piste here, but I know Neaton gets this. And that's so that you can see that each data point, like an anchor that we put on the blockchain, has a place and a time and a provenance that we can prove to you. And it's a truth that we can share across airlines and across identities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I mean, there must be at least 20, 25 startups working in the intersection between.
Correct.
What would be the one thing you would say which is different, I mean, with your solution?
It's what we verify identity against. So I can give you an app tomorrow that says this is your identity, go and use it anywhere, but what are you checking it against? This is why we came to the airlines, because there's already an organic loop of having to verify your identity, which you carry in a document, when you go through passport control and get on board a plane. If that data is incorrect, you can't travel, especially to foreign countries. So we work with international airlines only, not domestic. So our data set of verifications, not open passport data, we don't know you're Neaton, our data set is the highest integrity out there. All of the other blockchain startups on ID go for the low-hanging fruit, you know, a mobile-first, customer-first thing. We started with a really unsexy B2B feature that solves a real problem for airlines, but allows us to growth hack and aggregate all of these verifications each time you fly, and we can make them useful afterwards.
Maybe it's a very simple question, but I couldn't catch it. How do you verify the APIs, the info? How do you?
We cannot verify it from get-go. So when you first come in as a new record, it's just the first time we've seen the APIs. But when the client, say, on Pegasus side, magics it up and puts it in our system, the next time on your return flight, if you return with the same airline, that's what we compare it to. So the APIs, we can see whether that passport data has been the same, we can see what field is incorrect, and we alert the customer. So this is what's in beta with BA now.
So as long as the first entry should be correct by the customer, so that you do it, you compare it with the first entry, right?
And then the second, and the third, and the fourth. So you never suddenly say, oh, you've got this proved data. The business case dictates, so for BA, it's at least 20 white flags, and then we can assert they're less of a threat. They can go through a green channel at the airport, as opposed to somebody new who we can check, double check when they come to the airport.
How is the KPIs in British Airways? You said 6 months now, right? So did you hit to the target of, I mean, or does British Airways hit its targets when they first started this?
Yeah, we actually started with IAG staff on duty travel, and we're figuring out how to minimize that 9% of data that we're not sure about. If there's too much new data in there, if all of the fields are incorrect. So it's maximizing the inputs to maximize your output and your standard security. But with BA, it's hard to comment because it's their stuff. We've been privileged enough to access 20 years of historical data to train our ML on in order to improve those processes. So that 91% is not based on 6 months, it's 20 years of historical BA data and looking at where the errors are made in the APIs and how we can improve them better.
Where do you see more use cases and room for growth beyond APIs data?
Absolutely. Anywhere you need to prove that you're you and no one else is. The really exciting thing for us with co-branded cards and airlines is that it's access to a service that also requires the same data that you have in the APIS. So it's your passport data, often payment.
The business model is transaction-based, or is it?
Not at all. We don't punish you for using our software, no. It's a one-off flat SaaS fee, and it's integration work. A lot of people before me on stage said the integration is the hardest. Ours is an API that sits on your environment, and it's currently being tested by TrustWave as part of supplying into IG. So we do have a very secure thing that sits in your system and magics up the data before it comes to us, so we don't want to see it. But that SaaS fee then is ongoing monthly charge, and that's at flat rate. But we're tiering the airlines, so Vueling are paying less than BA, even though the volume is higher because they're a smaller airline. We don't want to punish the airlines for using our product and checking things over and over.
Okay, so thank you very much to VChain.
Thank you,
Round
guys.
of applause. Right, so our judges are just going to tot up their scores. So we asked them to come up with a winner based on these three criteria, and it was the uniqueness of the product, what was the market need. Obviously, many products have the classic saying it's a solution desperately looking for a problem to solve, so we wanted to know what the market need was, and obviously the viability as a business and product in the long term. So we'll just give them a couple more seconds. Are you guys ready? Johannes looks like he's agonizing a little bit over this one. So, okay, so they look ready. So if one of you has one of you got the microphone? Great dragons, terrible at holding microphones, brilliant. So, okay, so if you can start on the end. So before they start, let's just have a round of applause for our dragons first of all, please. And before they announce their own personal winners, can we have a much bigger round of applause for our 5 startups, please? Okay, so Rosen, do you have the microphone? This end, sorry, I beg your pardon. So, Guliz, your winner is?
WeChain.
Your win?
SkyGuru.
Pozdravляю. SkyGuru.
SkyGuru.
For me, it was very difficult between VChain and SkyGuru, but I will go with VChain.
So
It's D-Day.
So, we discussed this morning. There's obviously 2 votes each for SkyGuru and VChain. You know, I'm a journalist. I'm not supposed to have an opinions on things. We invariably do. But Danny suggested that if it got to this scenario, that I would get the casting vote, which I think is terrible. So, but I will. I really liked SkyGuru. I just thought it was from a uniqueness perspective. I thought it was really, really interesting, and I'm impressed with how far, your progress so far. Like I said, I wish I was a dragon for a moment because I had a heap of questions for you as well. But so well done. But I am going to say VChain, unfortunately. Sorry, VChain, come up. So while you continue to applause and we wait for the balloons to come down, there's a failure on the balloons, Danny. So if you just give us a bow and take a bow, and everyone give her a round of applause. Thank you.